such rule in our college or any circular which mentions hijab is not allowed, when our seniors were allowed to wear. It's my personal choice. Not even my parents are forcing me to wear this. It's my personal choice, and Constitution allows me to wear this, practice my religious right, and I want justice, and I'm not going to take off my hijab.
There are some places where discipline has to be maintained. Law of the land has to be followed. Whatever the act says and rule says, that is what we are saying. We are that the act and rule has not been framed when BJP came to the power.
You're watching News Epicenter with me, Maria Shakil. The right to wear or not wear a hijab has turned into a national debate after several colleges in Karnataka refused to allow hijab-wearing students into class. What we have witnessed over the last few days is nothing short of unprecedented. Classmates turning against each other, violent clashes and stone pelting, and campuses quite literally turning into war zones. Today, the Karnataka High Court referred the petitions challenging the hijab ban to a larger bench, thereby not providing any interim relief to the petitioners. During the hearing, the petitioners appealed to allow students to follow their faith and return to school. The State Council, however, argued that the hijab does not form an integral part of the religious practice. The College Development Council claimed that the uniform norms were in place for the last year and no one has raised any complaints until now. In the backdrop of these heated arguments, the judge observed that there are grounds for certain constitutional questions of seminal importance in the light of some aspect of personal law, which is what brings us to our discussion this evening. Does it boil down to personal laws versus institutional sanctity? Because every institution has a dress code. If it's about a school or a college, shouldn't that be followed? The other question is, the right to wear a hijab is linked to dignity and decisional autonomy recognized as an important aspect of Article 21 of the Constitution. But the law gives private educational institutions the autonomy to decide on dress code. But here it's the question of a government college. Joining me on the show, Zakia Soman is women's right activist and co-founder of Bharatiya Muslim Mahila Andolan, one of the prime faces during the entire triple talaq discussion. Shatabdi Shivana is a petitioner's advocate. Saida Bibi Hajira is an activist. Zeba Shireen is the leader of Campus Front. And Ashwini Dubey is an advocate of Supreme Court. I'm going to begin with the two advocates on the show. Ashwini, the Kerala High Court judgment that is being quoted by those opposing hijab in institutions, does it really hold? Because that judgment is for private schools and it clearly says that in private schools, students should follow uniform. Here, it's a question of a government institution, and that's where Article 21 becomes important.
There are two aspects. Let's discuss in 30 seconds the Kerala High Court judgment. In 2015, two petitions were filed before the Kerala High Court challenging the prescription of dress code for all India pre-medical entrance. The Central Board of School Education said that rule was only to ensure that the candidates would not use unfair methods by concealing objects within clothes. The Kerala High Court directed the CBSE to put in place additional measures for checking students who intend to wear a dress according to their religious custom but contrary to the dress code. In 2016, in Amma bint Bashir versus Central Board of Secondary Education, the Kerala High Court examined the issue more closely. Court said that the practice of wearing a hijab constitutes an essential religious practice but did not quash the CBSE rule. The court once again allowed for the additional measures and safeguards put in place in 2015. learned subsequently, Fatima Tansir versus the state of Kerala, 2018, the single bench of Kerala High Court held that the collective rights of an institution, which you are referring here, would be given primacy over individual rights of the petitioner. I see this case in two parts. Part number one, whether the uniform code made by the state, because you very rightly you discuss Article 21 of the Constitution of India, but there is one law which is coming in the way that Udupi School Development and Monitoring Committee has instituted a uniform code in 1985 in order to look into the uniforms of the students who are studying in the area, whether the hijab comes within the uniform or not.
Okay.
This is one question.
So it's a larger debate on which that is the reason why it requires a bigger bench, because this is now in that domain about personal laws and the interpretation of Islam as per these girls versus institutional sanctity and rules which must be followed, because it's about giving that message that everybody who enters a school or a college should have a level playing field in terms of their appearance as well. Shatabdish, while we are looking at multiple judgments and of course the argument that was put forth by your fellow, the fellow lawyer as well, talks about various aspects. My question is that which Kerala High Court judgment or which High Court judgment actually emphasizes on burqa, or a burqa I'm talking about, not as much as hijab, as an essential part of Islamic principles?
Very rightly, as my colleague, my friend here said, in 2015, when it was the case of the CBSE AIPM PTM exam, in that judgment, the Honorable Justice went deeply into the Quranic injunctions. He has gone into the hadiths, farz and harams and things like that. And then after careful deliberation and looking into the Quranic text, they've also, disposed the Quranic text in the judgment. And they have decided that wearing of a hijab is an essential religious practice under the Islamic faith. And any such faith is guaranteed under the Constitution under Article 25 and 26.
Shouldn't we be making then the distinction between hijab, niqab, and what we are seeing increasingly is Arabization of Islam in India, where women are wearing burqa, which was not there. There is a distinction between hijab, which is just a headscarf or a headgear, to now what we are seeing.
There is no one is questioning wearing of a burqa inside college or college institution. It is just a headscarf,
yes,
which is translated as hijab. I'm not an Islam scholar, but as per our reading of the law and as per reading of the interpretations made, if certain people believe that wearing of a hijab is an essential religious practice, they should be allowed to do so. They are not covering their face. And let me make one more thing clear. They are not violating the uniform prescribed by the government colleges.
Why
they
are
are
you saying
wearing
that?
the uniform, and in accordance with the uniform, they're covering their head with a veil.
No, but
Shatabdish,
here are
the uniform is perfect.
Yes, here are women appearing in burqa, which is not the same as they wearing uniform.
No, that is completely different. The burqas are required to be removed. They come to the college gate wearing burqa, and when they go in, they remove that entire black cloth that covers the entire body, and they'll just be wearing the hijab. But because they're protesting and it's taking a political turn altogether, you can see a few videos that is coming out and talking about that they're in burqas, but that's not the case. We're questioning only the hijab, and we've also asked the Honorable High Court to direct that hijab is an essential religious practice and it's a guaranteed fundamental right.
So we are essentially talking about hijab here and not the burqa, because burqa essentially is something which is not even mentioned in Islam. And I have Zakia Soman, and she and I have discussed triple talaq issues and others a lot, because there is nowhere mentioned as far as Quran is concerned or Hadith about essential part of a woman's clothing. It has to be modest, but does it mean wearing a burqa, or it's just about the headgear or the headscarf? Zakia, we are looking at these images. It's also that women are communicating a certain degree, or I would say also of their assertion. But are you not of the opinion, Zakia, that this was something that we had not seen in India for several decades? Why is it that this discussion has happened all of a sudden, in the sense that more and more women have started wearing hijab or a burqa, which was not there in this country for very long?
Yes. Yes. You're very right, Maria. Our nannies and our dadis were never in hijab. Our nannies and dadis used to wear sari or salwar kameez, depending on in which part of the country we belong to. But they used to have a huge dupatta-like thing covering their shoulders and their heads.
Yeah.
And they were not, anxious that not a strand of my head should be visible. So they were quite comfortable in their, culturally what was their dress, sari or salwar kameez, and they used to additionally have this head covering. So even in the Quran, it's not as though a dress code is prescribed. It talks about decency and modesty in dressing, not just for women, but for men as well. So, and there is ample evidence which has been, brought out by Islamic scholars that the veil in Islam is not part of the fundamental teachings of Islam, nor is it part of the fundamental teachings of the Prophet. In fact, some of the scholars have, with great painstaking research, they have found out how over the centuries of male-dominated order across various Muslim societies in different parts of the globe, this understanding of the burqa or the niqab, to confine women and to kind of keep women behind a kind of a covering, how it developed, it's actually not required by the religion.
Okay.
So,
if it is not required by the religion, and if anything, Islam emphasizes on education, the first word, as I've been saying, in Quran says, Iqra. It's about read. It's about go seek knowledge. My question then to Zeba is, Zeba, we have been seeing a lot of polarized debate. Now the College Development Council has claimed that the uniform norms were in place for the last 1 year and no one had raised any complaints until now. And it's only that when the girls have come towards the end of their academic journey that they have started wearing burqa. If it is about faith, if it is about your belief in Islam, then why is it coming at the cost of your education?
Yeah, I hope you remember that last few years we are in the era of coronavirus, and there was online classes, and these girls were attending their classes online. When they coming to offline classes, they wore these 6 girls. I hope you remember that the beginning of this issue was starting from the Udupi Government PU College. From there, 7 girls from there wore the hijab and came into the college and appealed the principal to give the allowance to wear the hijab. So when he resisted, they were expelled from the college, they were expelled from the class, and then from that was the beginning of this issue. And after that, I need you to drag your attention to the issues, to this violence happening in Karnataka, rather than misleading this topic into Arabization or Taliban or go to Pakistan kind of
Zeba,
thing.
I am not misleading the discussion either, because we have seen, and I am an Indian and I am a Muslim as well, and we have seen this transition that is happening among the Muslims of India, where they used to wear just a shalwar kameez in the past, perhaps just the dupatta covering their head. All of a sudden, women have started wearing burqas. And the emphasis on burqa in public spaces, does it not lead to segregation of women? I'm trying to understand from you, Hajira, when did you start wearing it? Was it your own decision when you started wearing the burqa or a hijab? Or was it part of a decision that was taken by your father or some male member in the family? Hajira, you have to unmute yourself. Yes, go ahead.
From
okay, we'll try.
7th standard.
Yes, go ahead.
Hello.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I started wearing hijab from 7th standard, and it was my own wish and will. I loved the way the girls used to look modest for me in hijab. So I liked wearing it.
Okay. So
this is my own decision.
Okay, so you are saying
it was
that
like it was a protective garment for me in front of men who unnecessarily they stare women from they stare and call names and bad words to them. It was a good protective piece for me.
But Hajira, the question is about education here. And the one thing that is increasingly becoming a topic of discussion now is that if you wear a hijab or a burqa and you enter a classroom, then you become very different from the rest of the class. If the purpose of education is to seek knowledge, to step out, explore the world, learn new ideas, then why do you wish to not mingle but stand out in your appearance?
Why were we not different when like in olden days it was okay and we were acceptable for everyone and everyone were acceptable for us. Even at where Sikh wearing turban is acceptable for us. Like that only we wear our burqa and hijab, and we like getting educated also in every field. We are actually right now, the women's empowerment is the must right now. And this I don't know who they are, RSS, BJP fellows, they want to stop women getting education. All minority people, they should not get educated. They should not come in any field and in any power. That is the main agenda of BJP and RSS. This is what they are creating a stupid issue. And
But Hajira, you know, shouldn't we be just looking at girls here and their challenges rather than talking about the larger conspiracy that I'm hearing repeatedly? Here the question is, if it is about education and the quest for education, shouldn't that be priority? How important it is for girls to look so different and assert their religious identity in institutions. If nobody is stopping you from practicing your faith, believe in it, practice it, nobody is stopping you, but practice your faith outside the institution.
That isn't, that is not what our constitution tells us to believe, practice your faith outside of any institution or anything. This is what we are following from the beginning. Now, right now, this has become a problem because they want to make a problem. This is not a good example for our nation, what they are making an issue of hijab right now. They should actually
I want to understand, because one charge that is coming against all of you who have been, standing up for hijab is that none of you spoke about it. You were very much part of the processes and discussions, and all of a sudden this has been made because all of you are pawns in the hands of certain groups who want to vitiate the atmosphere. Zeba.
Oh, is that to me? Oh,
yes,
sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So, could you repeat it, please?
Yes. So, my question is, since you are a leader of the campus front, one charge is that all of you are pawns in the hands of various religious hardline groups. You're not thinking for yourself. If anything, you have been made the larger pawns or players on a chessboard, and that chessboard is somebody else's. You are being driven in a direction which is not yours. You are being forced to think in a direction which is divisive.
Okay, let me be straight. These girls are demanding. These hundreds of girls out there in more than 20 colleges in Karnataka are demanding for their right from their voices itself. They are not speaking from behind. They are not talking by someone else's. They are demanding their own rights to get it back. And you're asking for a political interventions behind this, right? I hope that was a question.
Yes, there are politicians behind you.
Yeah, behind me, behind us. This is a very, as I have told you before, this issue has been raised when the Hindu students by ABVP have come into the college in Kundapur wearing a saffron shawl. So from that itself, the authorities of the institutions have gained feared from that, and they have stopped students, have stopped Muslim girls, and they have told Muslim girls to not wear the hijab, and if you want to get into the college, you have to remove your hijab and come into the college. From that, there wasn't any restriction on their hijab, on their dress code, on their uniform from till then. Yeah, you have talking about education and removing their religious identity and all. I believe in a country which upholds the value of unity and diversity, not excluding the religious practices of a particular community. These girls
but how is it excluding religious practice? If you want to practice your faith, the practice of faith should be outside of the institution. An educational institution is about following the rules and regulation. I went to a convent school. I followed the regulation of that institution. You have to respect that as well. While we respect our faith, that has to be respected as well. Zakia, Suman, we are listening to these two girls, both of them in hijab. I'm looking at a completely different shift here that is visible, and they are convinced about a version of Islam which was not known to all of us.
So there is this kind of a phenomenon that we are witnessing, Maria, now in our country, where I'm not referring to these girls at all. I'm saying in general there is a tendency where religions have become very, very demonstrative, and there is a lot of religion all around in public life. And it cannot be good for a multi-faith, multicultural society, which is so diverse and so plural. So we have to also think about mutual peaceful coexistence and mutual respect for each other. And I feel that any kind of a tendency which takes us further apart it should be shunned, and there should be rather building bridges and coming together of different communities, politics apart. I'm leaving politics out of this when I'm saying this, because only when we start identifying each other as fellow students, as neighbors, as girls belonging to the same college, or living and being brought up in the same district, we have those affinities, then only we can beat this whole politics which is being played out in the name of religion in our country today. Yes. So I feel, these girls are too young, and I hope one day they will realize what is happening around them and what they are undergoing.
Yes, it's certainly worrying, because this is the version of Islam that we weren't really used to seeing in India. It was more, about being part of the larger ethos and culture. Let me go back to the two lawyers, and Shatabdi, Shivanna, I've heard from the girls. It is again about practicing and talking about your own religion. But why does it have to make that? Why does that practice of religion enter an institution? Why shouldn't that stop at the gates of an institution?
See, firstly, I would like to say there's no cultural body or an Islamic body that is forcing these women to wear a hijab. I am in personal contact with the students. They wear it by their own choice. No one is pressurizing them to do so. They want to wear it, and it's their belief. Now, there might be different interpretations of the Islamic text. For you, for example, would not want to wear the hijab. There might be a contrary belief. It is not for the courts to get into that. But if there is a belief that's derived by their faith, and people choose to, believe in that faith.
But the courts did get into the practice of triple talaq, which was seen as not in sync with also the Islamic beliefs. So the court, after that judgment of triple talaq, has opened that huge window in which they will be going into the interpretation of Islamic text and hadith.
Correct. Now, it's, if there is a belief, my point is, if there is a belief, it is for the constitutional courts to protect that belief is my number one point. And as you said, now the matter is pending before the Karnataka High Court, and the Honorable Justice has, passed it over to, send it to the CJI to, constitute a special bench. Okay. Now the matter is sub judice. They have recognized that wearing of a hijab or in the entire scenario in Karnataka is a constitutional issue. We need to deliberate upon
Yes,
it.
so
In a
it is
in
a larger
deep manner.
constitutional issue, as you said rightly. We will be seeing a discussion and debate
We
play
will
out
advance our
in the court, where the courts will be deliberating over it. Quick 20 seconds to you, Ashwini.
See, personal laws. Maria, would you agree? Because you have just referred a very landmark judgment of Honorable Supreme Court. My brother is practicing in a constitutional side and talking about the personal laws. Personal laws are derived not from the Constitution, but
Yes.
from the religious scriptures. The laws thus derived must be consistent with the Constitution, least they become void under Article 13 if they violated fundamental rights. Right to equality is a fundamental right. The court in the Supreme Court in Masil Madi Mudaliyar versus Idol.
Yes, there are enough and more court judgments that we have seen, and particularly with triple talaq judgment, I think the courts have entered that domain where there is a precedence of that nature. Thank you so much for joining us, Ashwini, Zeba, Hajira, Shatabdish, and also Zakia Soman. We will be seeing more discussion play out in the Karnataka High Court when a bigger judge bench will be deliberating over various aspects of it, whether it's about the individual right as is being seen by these girls, or is it about an institutional rule and regulation. That's all from me. Thanks so much for watching.